Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Texans Probe. Today, I'm here with Drew, of course. Today, we're going to kind of go through recap of the Patriots game. Not that much to really recap. It was kind of a domination. We finally got our blowout win that we had been talking about. But good to see Joe Mixon back. Good to see Damian Pierce back. I thought the run game looked a lot better. I'm sure we'll get into that. And we'll preview this matchup against Green Bay because that should be a really fun game. Definitely exciting. Great jersey matchup as well. I'm a big jersey guy. Y'all know that. You got the all navy and the all white. I'm excited about that. And you got Love versus Stroud. Should be a very fun one. How you feeling, Drew?
This is one of those games to me. The best way to put it is like you can't be mad if they lose because like it's a good team. It's at Lambeau Field. You know, that's a really hard place to play against a really good team. Like it doesn't get more like challenging than that. It's a regular season game. It's not a must-win game. So, I'm just kind of really like similar to last week and really for the rest of the regular season, it's more about not the result, but it's about how the Texans play. I'm
Yeah.
interested to see how they play against the Packers. We saw how they played against the Patriots, which that's why we're here. We're here to talk about the Patriots. Now the Texans finally put away a lesser team, and that's what needed to happen after years. This issue has gone back years before
Yeah.
D'Amico
Right.
arrived. Texans couldn't beat the lesser teams. Last year, big problem because the roster was objectively better and improved. This year, it's even more improved. And they finally did it on the road. A little excitement for the Patriots because Drake May was starting too. So there was that subject, but that didn't seem to be an issue. Even though May made some throws, he also looked like a rookie at times.
Yeah.
But I'm just, very, very pleased with how they're able to just kind of put the Patriots away. Didn't look great at times, but that's fine. That's every game. We shouldn't expect a perfect game. We should know that by now.
No. No, for sure. And I mean, I think we'll get into it, but like you're saying, with regular season games now, I think the Texans are pretty easily going to win this division. None of the other teams are very good. I know Indy's whatever they're now, but they're not a very good team. To me, it's more so just seeing. I'm interested to see the game plan against the Packers. Jordan Love has not been very good against blitzes and pressures this season, so that'll be interesting. But the defense also has potential to be beat up. I'm sure we'll talk about it, but both of the linebackers are practicing. I still have confidence that Aziz is going to play. I think Toto is going to be out though. Um, but I think people are kind of overreacting to it because, like you said, at the end of the day, if the Texans lose, it's not the end of the world. Like at this point in the season, it doesn't
Yeah.
like if people are like, we should go sign Jamal Adams because we do play linebacker for. So I'm like, there's no reason to make a panic move at this point in the season. It really doesn't matter if they win or lose. Obviously, you want to win. It'd be a huge win. You can get to 6-1. But like people are like, let's trade for a corner because Lassiter's going to be out for the next two games. Like at the end of the day, you're looking forward at this point not like obviously it's not guaranteed they're going to make the playoffs, but you're looking towards that point in the season now. You feel good enough about yourself to where you're looking past the regular season. And it sounds bad you're in week 6, but you think you're a playoff team and they should be looking down the line, not making a move to where like they feel like they have to make a move just because they're like, oh, Ross is starting 2 games for us. We can't have that happen because they can.
We can talk about that for a little bit because I thought it was pretty funny. Let's go over the list of players that people suggested the Texans should sign or trade this week. I think I saw Buda Baker.
Yeah,
I
I've seen him a
saw,
ton.
yeah, someone said Jamal Adams today. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. Devin White has
Um,
been thrown out so many times and it
Kevin
pisses me off
White, oh,
every
that
time.
was
He's
so
awful.
bad.
He's so bad. That being thrown out is the stupidest thing. I talked about it actually and agree. I don't know. I talked about it in the chat. Like that's a
Yeah.
litmus test for how much you actually watch the NFL is Devin White
No,
because he was
literally, yeah,
yeah because
the
he was
players get
awesome in
cut.
college.
Like,
He's
there's a
legit
reason why
never
they
been a
get
very good
cut.
NFL player.
Yeah.
He was good for one playoff run. He's legit never been a very good NFL player, but he's a big name because he's a top pick and had a good playoff run. He's not a good NFL player. He is awful.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
not even sure that he actually was productive on Tampa, but like he was talented
no,
at
he's not.
LSU, but like he was just a
Yeah,
good draft pick. I don't even know if he actually did much at LSU, but
he
I
didn't.
Tampa Bay, but I
No, he
know
didn't.
that he progressively got worse. I saw
Yeah,
some film of him just making absolute bonehead decisions. Um, I think on his way out of Tampa Bay, someone said that he was lazy and not a good worker. And then The Eagles, one of the worst, genuinely one of the worst linebacking rooms in the
Oh, their
NFL,
linebacker room's so bad.
didn't
Yeah, it's
get
so bad.
didn't get playing time.
No, he was a
Didn't
healthy
get
scratch. They
playing
tried to
time.
trade him before, and they tried to trade him in preseason. So, um, no, he
Another reason
sucks.
why it's not a player that should, and I understand that DeMeco Ryans made Christian Harris better and made
Yeah,
Henry To'oTo'o better.
it's a
Those were
different
young
thing
players.
situation. Yeah, it's a completely
They're
different
young and they're
situation.
smart players too. No
Yeah,
disrespect to LSU, but I trust Alabama defensive players just a little bit better. You even see the LSU thing right there. I mean, look, a Nick
yeah,
Saban defense. I'm sure D'Amico is able to talk to Saban about these players. It's also
absolutely.
about football IQ and how hard you work. And that's why the Texans, and this goes for really anyone, the Texans don't need to be looking for castaways. Now, I respect Buda Baker a lot, but then we also have this conversation about money, draft capital, and Eric
Yeah,
Murray. Murray's been a very consistent player, and and I'll make a point about Eric Murray online, and people just say, "What? No, he's
yeah,
not a player.
yeah,
He's not a
dude.
Super
He
Bowl.
is
He's
the
not a Super
most
Bowl winning
hated
player."
guy.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you actually talking about? Yes, I know he was bad when Bill O'Brien was here and all that. I know, I understand,
Yeah,
but like,
yeah.
you're not even trying to compartmentalize that he has improved. You're not even like thinking that it's possible that Eric Murray might have improved from 2020 to 2024. That's my
I
if
mean,
quarterbacks improve in their rookie season, can't safeties improve?
yeah. I
What,
mean, and the thing for me is that I don't even think that under O'Brien he was a bad safety. He was a bad nickel, which never should have been put in the nickel, but they played him in the nickel and he sucked at it. And even now you can see he's not very good at covering receivers. He just isn't like it's not what he's very good at. I think he has good moments of doing it. I thought the Jacksonville game he got beat sometimes, but I also thought he had some wins against Christian Kirk. But like people acted like he was getting torched the entire game against New Orleans or not New Orleans, New England. He gave up 28 yards. I mean, it wasn't like
yeah.
he was.
And also like Pop Douglas in the slot, like
He's a
I
great
watched the
receiver. I
film of
like him
Pop
a lot.
Douglas and I say Pop Douglas won that rep, not Eric Murray
Yeah,
could have done much better. It's like if he did this, maybe it would have worked, but also like you don't know, you're not standing a yard away from
yeah,
Pop Douglas. That dude is so shifty that it's just and if he bites on a head fake, like you're done. Pop Douglas is that good. He's so agile to be able to get inside, get outside, stack on you. So like it's just and then again, like in 2020, did I love the Romeo Crennel scheme? No.
no,
The
yeah,
Mike
it was,
Vrabel
yeah,
stream? No. Scheme wasn't really that good. So if you're gonna talk about that, he was good in Kansas City before. That's why the Texans signed him.
absolutely,
Did look good under the other regime, but now he's just figuring it out, and so it's just really disrespectful. But that's why they're fans. They I
yeah,
understand.
yeah.
You don't want we don't have access to the film and you want to go off names. Jamal Adams, oh my God. And of course, L'Jarius Sneed got hyped up. That was something
Oh
too.
God,
He got
he's been
hyped up.
awful. We could talk about
And
that, but
now
he's
he's
been
finally
brutal.
exposed to
Yeah,
Tennessee.
yeah.
Got
I
exposed.
mean, good coaches do things to hide player weaknesses, and maybe, and I think D'Amico kind of does that with Eric Murray. I'm not saying Eric Murray's a star, but I think as a safety, he's doing enough on a cheap deal that I mean, I'm
That's
looking
what
at
you
like you
want.
said,
That's what you need.
Buda Baker's getting paid a lot of money, and if you
Exactly.
look statistically, there's not a huge difference between what they bring you. And I'm not saying Buda Baker's not a better player because I do think he's a better player. But you're just
Yeah.
looking at it. He's 30 years old, right? So the Texans are not in a situation where it's like we got a 1 year window. Man, this team could win for the next 10 years. They're young talent
Or
everywhere.
20. I
So
mean, hopefully 20 years of CJ
yeah, I
Stroud. So,
mean,
same,
yeah,
yeah.
it just as long as Stroud's here, the window's not closed. So there's no reason to go after a 30-year-old safety when he doesn't really bring you anything that Eric Murray doesn't provide you. I think he's a little bit better against the run. I think he's a little bit better in coverage, but you're going to have to give up a pick and you're going to have to take on the contract, which is like, I think 20 million for the next 4 years or 15 million for the next 4 years, which safety money, that's a ton of money when I don't think he's that great. Um,
Yeah, I
my
think
argument was
the team needs to be built. The team needs to have players like Eric Murray because of, like you said, the money. You have to have players like that.
yeah,
Even in your starting lineup, you have to have players on a low salary
absolutely.
cap that can just get the job done not Buda Baker, not someone that Buda Baker, like you're talking about production, age, draft capital, salary. That's a waste of resources. Sure, we trust Casario to, change up the contract, and you'll see stuff like that in the offseason where Casario will do that. But you have to have glue guys like that. So when someone says that Eric Murray's not a championship player, that makes no sense to me because you have to have players like him on a championship team, or you won't have the money to build a championship team.
Yes. I think there's a certain level of like now that the Texans are considered contenders. If any spot on the team is not playing at a really high level, people are like,
Yes.
"What the hell?" Right? Like no team. Like look at the Chiefs. No team has a perfect roster at every spot. It just doesn't exist with salary cap and everything that's going to it. It does not exist. So the fact that probably your worst defensive player is a guy that is just average is really really good. Like that's why their defense is really good because if Eric Murray's the worst player on that defense, that's a top five defense in the NFL, and they're playing like a top five defense. Um, if anything, I can appreciate the fact that late in the game, like Eric Murray got beat by Douglas, like you're saying, but I can appreciate the fact that late in the game they didn't they didn't let off. Like they were running cover zero blitz, like they were going after Drake May the whole game, which I have an issue with sometimes that I think they lay off. They didn't lay off, and you're gonna get beat like that sometimes, but also they ran that and it forced turnovers. It forced a turnover that Kalen Bullock picked the ball off. It forced some misreads from Drake May. There was give and take with it. So the fact that they were playing aggressively like that, I have no issue with it. And Eric Murray's going to get beat, but there's not that many shiftier slot receivers than Pop Douglas. And I thought honestly against Christian Kirk, I think what's his name missed him a couple times, Lawrence. But when Kirk was in the slot, they did a pretty decent job. I mean, it wasn't great, but they held up
Much
enough.
better than the year prior. So
Oh,
much better
absolutely.
than
Javier
last year.
Thomas was getting, I mean, he got his ass kicked that game.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even close. And the thing is that like I've seen people talk about how they need to upgrade in the nickel because Jalen Petrie, it can't cover.
Ooh, that's a
And
great topic because you can't take him out of the nickel. You
yeah,
can't. You can't put
because
him in deep
okay,
safety.
no, he can't play safety. We know this. But the problem is that I get he's not the best cover nickel, but you take him out of that role, and I don't know how good your run defense is. I'm not saying he completely makes the run defense, but it clearly regresses. So how much can you really give? Because I think he probably is the best run defending nickel in the NFL. Because I mean, the fact like there are some good run defending nickels, no doubt, but he's more physical than a lot of these guys. I mean, he plays like a linebacker pretty much. But I mean, they've been one of the best pass defenses in the NFL this year. So why the hell are we talking about upgrading the secondary? Which I think you can if you want to add secondary depth. I pointed out Grant Delpit because I think it makes sense from where the Texans are, but I don't think like Greg Newsome doesn't make a lot of sense because he's not going to
Right.
start outside. Lassiter's played well or played decently enough, and he's a rookie that they like. He's going to continue to start. A lot of his issues are basic fixes that are fundamental things that you can fix pretty easily. Um, and then the nickel, they're not going to move Jalen Petrie out because if you move him out of the nickel, he has to go to the bench, right? He can't play. So, and he's a good nickel. I truly believe that you're giving up. You're saying, okay, we're gonna give up, a couple of pass plays a game that he gets beat, but we're gonna be a top run defense, and I'm completely cool with that. I got no issue with that gamble. Um, and you can always game plan against a good slot, man. You can say we're gonna bracket this guy if he goes in the slot. Like, there's certain things you can do as a defensive coach to kind of hide that. Um, and I think we'll see it this week with Jaden Reed because that dude is a very good slot receiver. But like I said, I got no issue with that. Eric Murray's a good player and is gonna. He's done a good job for the last like 3 years here. He stuck around for three defensive coaches at this point, and people are like, he still sucks. So I don't know. I don't know what
I don't
you
know
what
how
you would
that
say.
works
I
because
mean,
usually those players get cut. But
yeah. I
the
mean,
best
shit,
way
he
to
was a
put
free
it,
agent this year and they brought him back. Like, clearly they like him, right? Like, granted, do you want him to necessarily be a starter? Maybe not. You would like to have Jimmy Ward out there. But if he has to start, it's really not the end of the world. And, he got beat. Granted, that pick was kind of a lucky play, but also a hell of a play because a lot of guys don't make that play that he made in that New England game, catching the ball behind the guy's back. I mean, that's a tough play. And so he
yeah,
gave up a touchdown.
literally an
He made up for
interception.
it, right? Like, he did not play poorly. And
Yeah.
he's a pretty good tackler. He's not great at anything, but he's pretty decent at everything, which is a versatile guy that you can kind of
And
do a
that's
lot with.
exactly what
So
you need. And then in terms of like the Patriots game, like the Texans were just trusting their guys against the Patriots guys. So that's why you might see like Pop Douglas win a rep instead of the Texans playing inside outside coverage,
Yeah.
leveraging one way or the other. They were just kind of like like they said, Stingley, you can trail Butte because you trust your athleticism, and that's why Drake May made the great throw to Butte. But
Yep.
because that's what Stingley does. Like he will always trail you like that and try to make a play on the ball. He may have
That's
lost
really
a
good.
little bit track of the ball there. Like stuff like that happens, but that's cool to see to me because they learn from that and they get to like just see that their players go up against the Patriots players. Now, of course, I'm interested to see how the people are going to react if the Packers throw over 300 passing yards because honestly, I think someone needs to be humbled. Maybe just the fan base, maybe the players need to be humbled too. But like you said, the pass defense has been so good that I'm not sure anyone's ready to see what happens if a team
Yeah,
actually
when
is
when
able to
when it
pass the
doesn't play well.
ball
I
over
mean,
them. And it's gonna happen. It's gonna
yeah, at
happen.
some
That's
point
how
it's
it
gonna
goes.
happen. Yeah, at some point it's
Has
gonna
to.
happen. I mean, the pass defense, and granted, statistically it's been really good. There's definitely been some games where people are open and guys have just missed. Um, it's happened in
They
pretty
should
much
have lost the
every game.
Jags game. Yeah, I think at this point
Yeah,
everyone should be able to say that the Texans should have lost to the Jaguars because Trevor Lawrence objectively missed some throws.
and
They
yeah, he played
objectively
poorly.
literally couldn't score a touchdown when they're at the 1 yard line and had four chances. That's just the fact, but that's okay. I feel like you can look at the Chiefs. They're undefeated, but they haven't looked dominant at all. At least the
No,
Texans
no,
can
not at
say they
all.
look dominant at times, and they beat good teams. Wish they put up a fight against the Vikings, but I think that's good to have this Packers game to see, okay, you beat the Bills, got crushed by the
Yep.
Vikings. Packers are either near the Bills.
Yeah, yeah,
We can also something like because the Packers lost to the Vikings,
yeah.
and so this will be another good test, but it's on the road. So overall, just a really good test to see for the team, and interested to just see the fallout and the chatter after the game. Because again, it's not about win or loss
No,
for this
no,
game.
it's
When you play
not.
the AFC opponents, oh yeah, I would say when you play the AFC opponents, I care a lot more about wins or losses. Like absolutely massive games against, the Colts. You still gotta push them away a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit.
No, the Colts. That's a big game. Yeah, for sure.
Push them away. Ravens game, huge game. Chiefs game, huge game. Lions game, fun game, but
Yeah,
not
but
a
that's yeah,
huge
not a
game.
huge game.
So because
Yeah.
they're the best team in football, but it's gonna be fun because it's on Sunday night and it's at home and you get to see them how they play. So if you're a fan out there and looking at the schedule, try to see the AFC games where those as the games that matter, and the Packers Lions game as games where it's just a test to see kind of how the team's holding up.
Yep. No, it'll be a fun game because I think there's a lot that go into it. And it should be a fun game. I mean, if Aziz doesn't play, it's gonna be tough because honestly, I'm of the stance of I don't think Henry To'oTo'o missing changes a lot when you plug Hewitt in. I think they can kind of do the exact same things. They're not neither of them are very good in coverage, but they're good against the run. And so kind of brings you a similar role. But Aziz not playing would really hurt your chances because he's been huge for the defense this year. But um, at the end of the day, if he doesn't play, it's not the end of the world. Like if he didn't play and the linebackers get picked apart, I mean you're without your starting three linebackers. So um, it happens. I mean, injuries happen. You're more so worried about getting these guys healthy long term than losing a week 7 game to Green Bay at this point. So it just, um, you know, you got to be able to think long term instead of thinking short term right now.
Should we go into some film from the Patriots
Let's
game?
do
Like
it.
some good
Let's do
plays.
it.
Definitely should showcase some of the bad. Like I understand. Like
Oh yeah, yeah,
we can
absolutely.
look at some of the Pop Douglases, good refs. I thought Petrie had another little bit of a bipolar game. He made some great plays. I kind of saw, and then had some missed tackles, playing
Yep.
a little antsy at times.
It was week 6. All right. Any plays in particular, or do you kind of just want to go through?
Let's see if we get something early on in the game. Let's see, early in the game, I just like the opening script. Wait, well, let's go to the first offensive possession for the Texans.
Okay.
Kind of just speed run of the opening script because I thought it was one of Bobby Slowick's better ones. And they have been frustrating in the past. So you're really gonna start out with a new concept. And I think that's the coolest thing to see is we saw some new concept this week from Bobby Slowick. It wasn't just, mix in, go out there, we're gonna run wide zone, you figure it out. They're gonna run a little return motion action there, just to kind of get the defense thinking from Stover. But you're also gonna get a pull from Mason. So
Yeah.
and it just gets
These
you a
type of
little space early on. Yeah.
these type of runs is why Joe Mixon's so important to me because I think I've talked about it so many times, but getting four instead of getting zero
Yeah.
is huge on first down. I mean, it makes it completely changes the drive because honestly, he probably should have picked up more, but he kind of runs into Tunsil. Um, but he still gets three or four, and it sets up for a much easier second and third down, which is what the Texans have struggled with. Actually, I actually had hold on, I'll pull this up just real quick. This is actually their early down EPA this week, which was a massive improvement. I just wanted to show this. I tweeted this out during the game, but if you look, let's see if this thing will work. All right, it's not gonna load, so never mind. But there's even there it goes. Finally went. So their early down EPA has been in the negatives for the longest time, but now you get point 17.
Awesome.
Early down rush was really good. Finally in the positives, and you keep yourself out. They weren't even that good on third downs this game compared to how they have been earlier in the season, but as a whole, they were very consistent. They picked up, they were very good running the ball early downs, and they kept themselves out of super long third downs for the most part, which set themselves up much better for drives.
I also would say this run it really is just kind of signature Joe Mixon because you don't really see many running backs with like the pure patience, but also very nimble feet. Like he stacks up, like
Yeah,
it looks quick, but he's kind of doing it in slow motion, but because it's like a three-part thing, getting the ball, you're stacking, you're keeping your feet and hips really clean and just kind of navigating. Um, so if I ever see a running back do that in college, it kind of tells me that they're gonna have a really bright future because I mean we see Damian Pierce and Dare just kind of get downhill a lot. Yeah, you don't really see the that kind of
yep,
style that you see from Joe Mixon and from everyone else. And then again here, like you have the cheat motion, you have outlets, you have
go back.
chips. We talked about chips, Jacob,
Yeah,
and
I
there
know.
you
I
go.
saw this during the game, and I was super excited about it because this is why I think having Teagan back, or that wasn't Teagan, but it was. I saw him in on the first play. It's nice to have these tight ends go out and chip because you just slow down pass rush, right? Like you're able to slow this down, and he just runs a little chip release, wide open in the flats. Rare footage of Dalton Schultz using his hands this week. Um, he goes out there, picks up a first down. It's easy.
Yeah, and that's a great play for, second and medium. Also could be an opening play because it just gets yards, and that's so important. And look at that. They're just the defense's eyes are on the deeper routes. That's fair because of the chips concept where you don't see anyone coming out into the flats. All you're seeing is verticals, and then they just go out there, and it's really nice. Also, you got another shift in formation. They're going to go into a little bunch there. And
This
oh
yes, this
yeah,
is
this route by Tank I thought was pretty special. I thought it was pretty special. I
oh that is
believe.
that's yeah, that's very impressive.
Am I able to draw? Do you see this, Jacob?
Oh yeah, I can
Screen?
actually. There you go.
Look at that.
Here, let me go back. Hold on.
Okay,
We may have figured something out here.
hold on. Try to
Okay.
change the color to red here. So we're just gonna get Tank Dell right there. He's gonna go
Hey,
outside.
wait, do you
Oh,
want
yeah.
to share screen so you can do this on your it may be easier on your screen to do it than if on my screen.
So, so would it be easier?
It
We'll
probably
see how
would
it
because I'm
goes.
thinking okay, got you. Okay, so here we'll start off. I can honestly
Yeah,
go
just
frame
start
by
at the
frame if you want. That
beginning.
might be easier. Okay. Just go to from the beginning. Let's see. All right.
I'll just kind of tell you where to stop it. But yeah, you see the guy, he's just already squared up on him. and then Tank's gonna go a little bit outside because what the corner's probably feeling is that he's gonna run a corner route or a fade or an out route. But the impressive thing is that he's able to, kind of transition his hips and his body to the inside, um, kind of with a pretty loose movement. You see like the little celebration that all three Texans receivers do. Pretty cool. They all got the same thing going on there. I think Tank Dell had a really good game, and we just kind of saw him featured a lot more. Like people thought that like he wasn't as good because of the numbers. That's just like not that's not fair. That's not how regression works. Like
Yeah,
example
yeah.
of
No, for
regression could
sure.
be maybe Amari Cooper, where he has some drops. Maybe it's also Deshaun Watson's fault too. But people saying that Amari Cooper statistically hasn't been good, and that might be fair to say. Then we're gonna get another little um added in design, if you will. Little cheat motion down block. I like that because it lets Stover kind of get close to the line of scrimmage, and clearly they trust Stover as a blocker. Really, really do. And it would
Yeah,
be
they, no,
nice
they
to
do,
see
which
Brevin
I don't really
Jordan.
agree with, but
Well, he's a he's a physical, gritty football player that wants to block. That was always what I saw. He wants to block, so they let him. And he
yeah.
obviously gets beat on pass pro sometimes, and we'll see later. But I like that he has the willingness to block. And then we'll go to the end zone view here, but I mean, they said this on the broadcast. This is probably a touchdown. He makes the man miss, and I'm a little disappointed in Joe Mixon's elusiveness. Maybe he's still getting back into the flow. I like how Mason. I don't think he really holds him or anything. I don't know. We gotta see where his arms get. We'll try to pause it when Mason gets the down block. Yeah, like that's not a
Yeah.
hold. The linebacker's just not necessarily expecting to have to hold as much outside leverage, and he's just not able to take it on with as much contact. Like you might see another linebacker or even a Jalen Petrie just absolutely blow the polar up.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he wasn't really able to sniff it out. So good design by the Texans, and Mixon could have easily had a touchdown there. Great tackle. But
Yeah,
it's also
Joe
costing them.
Mixon, I mean, like you said, it could be an ankle thing, but I also know Joe Mixon the last couple of years has not really been a guy who makes guys miss. Um, his missed tackle like force rate's not very high the last couple of years, so he's got good vision. He's a smart running back and actually has more explosiveness than I thought, but I don't think he makes that many guys miss in the open field, which is not the end of the world.
So go know how
This,
he
this
gets zip on this, how much zip he had on that ball
yeah,
falling backwards. That's insane.
I still don't know. I
Absolutely
was watching
insane.
this play back. I don't know what Kenyon did or what he was doing here because he. Okay, wait, hold on. Let's go back. What's the best? Yeah, this is a fine view for it. I was just trying to
If we're
pause
gonna look
it.
at Kenyon Green, yeah, I mean that's fine.
Okay, so he engages 53. I think he thinks Dari. Maybe he just doesn't
Oh,
know where the blitz is coming from, but he just doesn't block anybody.
he
So
was
I
prepared. He might have been prepared to go to 15. We can look. So if you can pause it right there.
here, yeah, pause it. See right here.
Yeah. So I, you're gonna assume that it's gonna be this, maybe
Hmm.
that, and I see. You see his head, where his head
Yeah,
is
yeah,
looking
he's
at.
looking.
He's
Yeah,
looking at 15. But my thing is like I would, if I'm a left guard, I think I would actually want to go for him
yeah,
and
the
let
inside guy. Yeah,
Dare go for him. So, it's just a little. That is one of the moments where that is a little bit of a mind-boggling decision by Kenyon Green. It's just fair to say. Again, we're not offensive line coaches, but that's what I can imagine that they're in the film room that they're even saying that's probably how we want the matches to go. Yeah, so just if we can roll the play real quick. So I think the problem is that 55 drops back, but that still
yeah,
doesn't really affect Kenyon Green's assignment. It's just one less guy to block. And so that's why it's really disappointing when there's one less guy to block, that one guy still doesn't block.
Yeah, no,
Doesn't
exactly. I
help
mean,
out.
it's just the offensive line is improving. I think as a whole that they are improving. They're getting better week to week, but there's still just kind of basic communication problems that are happening on that front that are like simple things like that. Like it seems like to me that I think Kenyon and Dare would probably agree that it'd be easier for Kenyon to pick up the inside guy and then for Dare to pick up the safety nickel blitzing instead of flipping that. But I, I don't know. Here we'll watch this red zone. This was Oh,
So, I mean,
this is actually
honestly, yeah,
that's open. Yeah, this is open. He just slips.
this
I
was
like
a
this
really good
play.
route. I
Yeah,
do
no, I
too.
like yeah, and like you said, it's a good route by Mixon. If he doesn't slip, this is a touchdown, and it would he would have had three. So
I mean, this is
because
just a basic stick concept, but really an ISO option route, if you will, by Joe Mixon. And he can, and if this was zone coverage too, he really could have gone anywhere. Seems like it's just kind of match coverage by the Patriots. Really just straight up man, but they're double teaming Dalton Schultz. Again, not really sure from
yeah,
the Patriots viewpoint, but I'm just saying that someone double teams Dalton Schultz, and you have a whole defender in the middle, which just leaves Joe Mixon one on one. And 48's not really expecting, like, he's defending the inside, is really
yeah. Let's
all
go
he's
back to that
doing.
other angle.
If Joe Mixon go runs an in breaker, like just like an under route, it's going to be covered. If he runs an out route,
Mhm.
it probably will be open. If he just runs an out route,
Here we'll stop it right here if you want to get
yeah.
your drawing out for it.
So this guy is kind of walling off this area. So Mixon can go like that, or what he's gonna do is go up, and he has the hip flexibility to just kind of get around you like that,
Yep.
which I think is pretty cool. But basically, I just see these kind of guarding the inside because of where that foot is right there. He's gonna just naturally be able to guard the inside. So let's see what Mixon does at the top of the route if we can get there. Yeah. I think he kind of the linebacker kind of bites on on Mixon's preparation to maybe go left or right. And so that's why Mixon, who's got, better transition skills than a linebacker, which is expected, is able to get over top. But I saw multiple Texans players slip on this field. Tank Dell did it
Yeah.
probably two or three times
Well, I
too.
do think it rained maybe before or after, so it
Okay.
probably was
Yeah.
just slick.
Yeah. That's
Probably just
that's
slick.
fair.
Let me get this out of the way. Trying to get the Zoom thing out of the way for myself. Okay. This was what was it? This was that pass interference in the end zone. Um, Here, let's watch. I
Feel
want to
like
watch
if
the
you go to the other
protection.
view, it looks like
Yeah,
Hutchinson might be open. I want to see how the cornerback gets on him there. But there were some times where Stroud kind of just had his mind made up a couple times. Like I think that's a touchdown to
Hutchinson is open
Hutchinson.
there.
But like there was another play where Stroud just kind of threw a fade to Diggs later in the game
Yeah, I
when
mean,
Schultz was
there's
open on him right
plenty of
there.
room to Hutchinson here. I mean, if he
Yep.
throws this out,
You're all
yeah,
the way
right
back
here.
here. I mean, you got all this space. Should be able to just go.
Yeah, I
43
will
is
say
looking
though,
over there.
I don't necessarily hate. We kind of talked about it last week, where I don't necessarily hate the idea of like you got man coverage, so we're just going to be like, I'm gonna trust Tank to beat man coverage, and so I don't hate that decision. But if he reads the field at all here, if he reads the left side of the field here, he's got
You
it.
could also have Tank run like a little like zig like that because Schultz
Yeah,
isn't going to be able to separate this guy walling off there and probably going to be able to trail him over there.
yeah. Well, that ends up
So
getting a
my
flag.
thing
So
is like that's the Nico Collins route. If you're going to run a corner to the end zone, how is Tank Dell really going to be able to get there? So that's just tricky. It's a tough ask for Tank. It's a tough ask for CJ, really, in terms of ball placement. So just take what you have. Just take Hutchinson there. Get your eyes off of him. Your eyes are over there. Hitch. You should still have time to hitch, even though I see this guy. You probably could have thrown it to Hutchinson earlier in the play too, but this is just where we have it paused. So he is young. Stroud is young, but we don't see really mistakes like this very often. But it's just a matter of the fact that he probably could have gone to Hutchinson. It just has that feel.
Yep. No, exactly. And I mean, like I said, I think you just trust Tank to beat man over Hutchinson, but Hutchinson was open from the very get-go there. Um,
See some Kendrick Green fullback here, which I love. I love.
yeah, I like it too.
Really, really, the best way to put it is like it just kind of instills a little bit more fear into the defense, which I like. And I think we'll see how the C gap on the left looks here, but Mixon might have been able to bounce this one out. So I think the middle was just kind of under control by New England, which you see a lot. Like, yeah, I think if you go outside, again, Mixon didn't make Kyle Duggar miss, but maybe he can make number 21 miss.
Mhm.
And so I just want to see Mixon make someone miss to show that he can do it instead of making me think that he's not even trying. Because at some point, it just feels like he's not trying. And then great ball placement on the run, which you don't really see all too much nowadays. It's nice to be able to see a quarterback just get outside the pocket and throw the ball where only the receiver can get it. A lot of the time, it's just everything's schemed up. But I like seeing magical plays like this.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful ball. All right, let's see. Well, what do you want to get into now? We got
Hmm.
you want to go through Damian Pierce's runs? It's not that
Sure.
many, but we could
Yeah,
do
let's go
that.
to Damian Pierce real quick.
All right.
I actually love that play design. I think I kind of would call it like a little zone split lead, but it's like a double zone split lead
Mhm.
with Stover and Schultz. Schultz comes in motion too. Pretty cool stuff, but I mean, look, not much push from Tunsil. All right there. We'll have to look at the gaps from the other view too. So it's not one of those plays where you're going to put that on the running back.
Yeah, no, there's not much there.
It's the other view. Try to see where 15 comes from. Because of course, there's always the chance that a running back can bounce it out too. But I would obviously, we all know, can trust Mixon a little bit more than Pierce to be able to
Yeah,
bounce it.
no, for sure.
This is just a 1 yard gain, unfortunately. But you can see that burst. I mean, he looks confident, which is always a positive. Of just to have someone that can get downhill. I see what he saw. I remember watching this play back on film, and I feel like Juice Scruggs, as good as he's been all season, I didn't really like this game for Juice. I felt like he just
Oh
wasn't
yeah, he
really
was he was not very good. No, he was not very good.
his engagement wasn't long enough to be able to just really secure the down blocks and secure the gaps. I think that
Yeah, this
you can
was easily Pierce's probably best run of the game. Even better than a touchdown run. I mean, you get the cutback. It's exactly what people have been asking for, and it's a really good run by him.
yeah, I like it. I mean, you can go left or right here too. Maybe Tunsil doesn't get as much push as we think he might, but he just shoots the gap. He sees the cut. He sees the cutback lane. Schultz able to wall it off too.
Let me pause
Mason
it real
doesn't
quick.
add or Howard does an adequate job helping out Mason there.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
mean,
just a
he could run
positive
this
thing.
between. He could run this
Yeah,
here too.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
got that right there. Bounce it out, or just go right through there, which he does. So
yeah.
look, I mean
It's a good
that's
block.
I mean
It's
that's a
a
good
well
team
blocked play.
play. It's a good team play.
Yep.
But it's also nice to see Damian Pierce be a part of that play too, because you don't want to have to rely on Mixon to be the only one who can do that. Another, we saw this design earlier. You get a little return motion into zone toss, but not enough push. Not enough
No.
push. We've been harping on it. I'm really not sure how these guards, how you can go into next season with this guard play after having to watch a full season of it. I understand shuffling the offensive line is hard to do. It's not what you want to do. It's nice to be able to keep the same five guys out there at all times. So I understand.
Mhm.
At the same point, they're just not getting as much push. And then that was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a running back jump in the air. I think this was like first or second
Yeah.
down too. I've never seen that happen from the 40-yard line. I don't know if you have. Probably could have gone left there too.
Closest thing I could think of is Jaden Daniels last year at LSU when he against Florida State when he jumped in the air for when
Yeah.
I watched the play, that's exactly what I thought of.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's very rare for a guy, not in like the red zone area. Like, let's see what down it is. It was 2nd and 9, I think. I think it's this one. 2nd and 9.
Second and nine.
So, definitely an interesting choice because I mean, not a lot there, but I don't know what jumping is going to accomplish.
I'd rather see so many other things.
Yeah.
Really, I'd rather you run around like crazy and do Damian Pierce things for 2 yards. He's had some crazy 2 yards in his career, but
Oh
that
yeah,
actually might be
absolutely.
the craziest one.
Yeah, that was pretty dumb. Let's see this run.
Here we can see the other angle here. I'm not really getting a little power concept, pulling guard. Probably gonna have to cut it back to and the right side looked very muddy.
Yeah, he should have cut. He should have not that he didn't see it, but he probably should
He's just
go.
a slasher. He comes downhill instantly wanting to shoot gaps, as where
Yeah,
you see
he.
Nixon might kind of just step up and then kind of have the option to go left or the option to go right. But with Damian Pierce, it doesn't seem like to be much of an option because he's already going so far downhill. Yes, we see the gap, and he is peaking. To be fair, this guy is peaking. Damian Pierce is about 5 yards away, so he can see that that guy's looking and peeking. But rather you try. I would like Kenyon Green also maybe or maybe Vittoriano reach up there. Green gets that guy, and then you got a whole front through there. So
Yeah, I don't really know what
Damian
Kenyon's
Pierce is
trying to do here. I don't really know where he's
he's the
going.
pulling guard though, so things
Yeah,
happen really quickly with the pulling
yeah, I guess
guard,
that's
of
true.
course.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It's almost like you would want Teagan to get up instead of him,
Yeah.
because they end up just double teaming that guy, which a little bit weird.
A lot of weird stuff
Um,
happens with the Texans running game and their assignments. I'm
yeah,
not sure it's ever going to get cleaned up at this point. I think, and yeah, that was a pretty good
it's a good
run
run.
actually.
Yeah, it's a
Another
good run.
cutback, another cutback. I love it. He had more carries than I thought he had, I guess, but
He had 8, I think.
hmm.
It's a good run. He was running
They
hard too.
can see he runs hard. That wasn't necessarily a smooth run. Looks like his
No,
feet got a little choppy because he climbed so far up to the line of scrimmage, but he had the whereabouts to see that there was a cutback lane. So to me, that's a positive in itself. And then hey, he capped it off with a touchdown. I mean,
hell
he's
yeah.
probably the one player that needed a confidence booster. He has the talent.
Yeah,
There's some things you're not going to get from him that you get from Mixon. But also, we didn't see that from Mixon. So, but
no.
he genuinely had the contact balance there. Um,
They're kind of lucky that Schultz doesn't get called for a hold here because I think he could have. Uh, in that pile, he's kind of just hooking and grabbing. He ducks his head and then he ends
he's
up.
grabbing. He's grabbing, but he's not holding Jacob. I think that was really the
Yeah,
difference maker there.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad because like you said, I'm happy for Pierce to get that score. Uh, it's awesome to see him get involved. And I wanted to show. Let's see. He had one catch where I don't even know how many yards he got, but it felt like he was like trying. He was working, man. I think it was this play. He was like he was working to get 1 yard here. I was like,
It was also really cool. I mean,
I
you
mean,
don't
yeah,
get that from many players. It's just a
no,
general fact that you don't really see that very often. Look how low he is to the ground, still churning his feet. He got hit really low too, and he's still pushing through. God,
yeah,
that's
no. That was one where I was pretty impressed, even if it's just 1 yard.
Mhm.
Just being able to.
Is there a way to go to like every sack from Will Anderson or something like
Yeah, I
that?
think so. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
I got you.
we'll do that. We can also. look at maybe every catch from Pop Douglas and just kind of see how the Texans are playing him. Also think he's just a really impressive player. But to see what our guys are doing against one of the better, talents. Yes, I'm saying that about Pop Douglas. Yeah, good to see.
Let's see. What's the best play result? Oh, here we go. All right.
Yeah, there's all three sacks. That's perfect. Very kind of just works his way around the edge. I think the other
Yeah.
one more of a true win. But the important thing is that he has such good core strength. Look, you're getting punched all the way up here, and he's barely reacting to that. That guy's
Yeah,
got really big hands. That's a big
he,
guy hitting you up
I'm
there.
not, I don't really think he has a pass rush bag when it comes to that type of stuff. But man, that dude is a strong guy. Like he is insanely strong because really his main move is just bull rushing you, but it works. So, so, you know, it's impressive that that's what he does and it works almost every time. Um, let's see,
And
get
that's
second
like the
sack
point
here.
to where like you don't really need a back. And there he's on the right side there. I guess the Neil Hunter might be out of the game though.
Yeah, that's Horton on the other side.
Yeah. You put him on the blind side. Obviously, Patriots offensive line, not going up against any
Yeah,
special tackles on either side. But there he does kind of fake an outside move and goes inside, which I can appreciate because when you have the strength like him and the balance like him and the motor like he does, kind of trying to make the guy guess and the ability to rip through the inside, keep your legs going. I like that a lot. Here he's on the right side as well. Right side again.
yeah,
He's just gonna work his way around. It's I feel like you probably wouldn't see rushing like that against like Josh Allen and the Bills. So that's why we
no,
saw this. That's objectively why we saw the sack numbers go up.
yep,
And we knew this was going to happen. People were like, I can't believe the sack numbers are this low. That's pathetic. Has Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter lived up to the hype? I mean, it's really simple. Like, if the sack numbers went up, Josh Allen's completion percentage might have been like 60%, and it was
yeah,
instead like 30%. That was a
yep,
really good job of him, and Daniel Hunter does a good job too. When you see the hands, you don't necessarily have to swat it away. You can grab their hands and push it away with your strength. So you see
yeah.
that if that's his,
Here,
I don't
I'll
know, either
pause.
the
Yeah,
tackle's left hand, right hand, he literally snatches his hand while still moving. Look how fluid his body is right now. He's about to start bending too. He's got his right hand is gripping the offensive lineman's left hand. He just moves that sucker away. I mean, that's a lot of strength, a lot of bend, a lot of balance, and a little bit of dip
yep.
there too. He is not phased by anything on that offensive line.
And you
Offensive
get
line against him.
and what's interesting is we've talked about how we don't like Derek Barnett rushing from the inside, but he lines up inside here, and you get a stunt on the other side with him and Hunter, which I actually like. If you're going to have him line up in the inside, you better start doing a lot of this stuff because you get Hunter on that guard or center guard, and he wins. He gets pressure from the inside. May kind of rolls out, doesn't see Anderson, sack. Um,
Yeah, that
so
stunt kind of allowed Will Anderson to play around with the left tackle because they knew
yep.
they were containing on that side. And if Will's going to be, disciplined enough, he'll be totally fine there. So I really like the way that they just kind of let the pass rushers do their thing, which we didn't
I
always
don't
get
know.
to see.
I didn't know they had old players in here. We could watch D'Amico Ryan's film. I didn't realize that you could search for it with old
Wow.
guys. There we go. It's Mario Douglas
Okay.
receiving. All right. Let's go to his catches because I don't really care to see his completions. Um,
This one's gonna be just zone coverage too, but
yeah,
this is a good job by Stingley. Yeah, he's got really fluid hips and he
good
comes down
tackle.
in the flats. He missed a tackle like this last week, but he does a fine job there. So no complaints. And again, when people talk about the secondary, like a lot of the stats and all that stuff is a product of scheme, and that's why
Uh-huh.
D'Amico doesn't necessarily need
Oh, this play
a big
frustrated
secondary.
me.
Okay.
because Petrie's got to get him out of bounds here.
Anyway, Petrie is a very interesting football player. He's someone that I would want on my team, but at some point he's got to have a little bit more awareness. Look, he actually gets a little bit lost there, but his
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
responsibility should be on those two flats, him and him.
yeah. Here, pause
Um,
that.
of course, the concept does stress it a little bit. But look, once that guy goes in, get your eyes
Fade.
out there. You're going to be able to flip your hips and follow him. And let's see how long it takes him to identify the flat now. Still looking at the quarterback. He was looking at the quarterback and a little bit inside too. And then he can lay the wood, but he just doesn't want to there. He just thinks he can
No,
push him up.
yeah,
You have to be disciplined and at least wrap up and get him to the sideline. I understand the concern nowadays of penalties, but I don't really think that was an issue there. I think you just have to
no.
take a little bit of a
This just
better angle too, get a little bit more upfield, and then try to make a play on the ball too. So that's the inconsistencies that you go, Jim Petrie. This is also on Petrie. And look, I think that's all Pop Douglas. I think that's a good
yeah,
route. I think
yep.
it's legitimately a good.
Was this your favorite route? Double slants? It was.
It was
You got double
actually
slants.
it
Double
was
slants
it was
concept.
double slants. They must have ran coach suggestions, and they also must have been watching the Texans film, and they
Yep,
just said,
double slants. I still don't really understand where this penalty came from. Maybe I was wrong, but I guess
yeah.
it's is it maybe that at the line? I don't know.
Okay, but we do see Pop Douglas kind of give you an outside move, and he's like I said, he's just so agile to be able to go outside and then go inside.
Good catch
It
too.
is rapid. It's super rapid, and it's hard to ask someone to be able to cover that route. But we're talking about Packers game. If the
Yep.
Texans are playing leverage, if you, that maybe Murray or Petrie will be told play inside leverage, maybe he'll put a foot up and guard the inside a little bit more.
Yeah.
Now this
Yep.
one I had a little bit of an issue with because of where Murray is starting to line up. He's lined up a lot more inside than Petrie was on that last play. So
Yeah.
he
He
just
still
straight up
loses
got
the
stacked.
inside.
He lost his
Yeah.
leverage. Petrie was head up and got beat inside because it was a good move. Um, so that's where
Okay.
they're going to look at that and say, okay, we're going against Jaden Reed. They also have all these other receivers, Dobbs, Watson,
Wicks. Yeah.
Vicks. People really like him. They can all make you miss. They can all make you. I
Yep.
think you're going one
Here.
way and beat you with athleticism. Yeah, look at that. To me, it looks like he's right here, and then Murray's right there. So that would mean that he's inside, and
Yeah. He's got inside
inside.
leverage.
He's got inside leverage, and he bites. He
He
bites on
he
the
even
edge.
goes farther inside here than he did at the
Yeah.
pre snap. He's way inside here.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, his foot's outside of his right foot's outside of that foot there. So completely got inside
Really
leverage.
looks like he's holding inside leverage.
Yeah.
I think Papa's just going to give him a head fake. I see a little movement, but that one, okay, I will say I really feel like that one is a little bit on Eric Murray because of leverage and because
Yeah.
it wasn't much of a move. That's when you talk about getting stacked too easily. It's you're not holding your leverage, you're overreacting, and you're just trying to like stay on them. No, you need to hold your leverage. When you have a deep safety
Yeah.
like that too, you should be okay with letting them get outside. And also, it's objectively harder to throw a sideline ball than a ball in the middle of the field. So,
Yeah. And then this one, let's see. Again, Petrie kind of has inside leverage here and just kind of loses it. At least it looks like to me.
oh yeah, big
It's a
time.
good move. It's a good move.
He really did set up the outside move though that time a lot
Yeah.
more than the previous route. But I mean, you're absolutely right. Look at that space. I mean, that's how much space you're getting in terms of leverage. And it just kind of felt like he got stacked too easily. He needs to maybe put a foot out there and kind of hold his leverage a little bit more instead of staying square. If you stay square, the receiver's going to be able to. attack you straight up, attack that square, and then go inside or outside once you get square and you're stacked. But they're really going to look at that. That's something for us to look at too. Just kind of see how
This
they
is the
adjust.
touchdown.
And
Yeah.
then he did get stacked there. Again, this could be a lot of just Pop Douglas. Pop Douglas being Pop Douglas. It's a good route. It's a good route, and he's a little bit more square than the other alignments too.
Hmm.
And I don't think that Eric Murray is as athletic as Pop Douglas. So to be
No,
able to
no, not
mirror
at all.
that, to be able to ask to mirror that is such a tough task. Such a tough task. But this is what I was talking about when I said the Texans just put their guys up against the Patriots and said, you do your thing. And Eric Murray is not able to do his thing against Pop Douglas because of how athletic and
No.
shifty he is and showing some nuance as a route runner too.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I was talking about. Like, at the end of the day, like you said, they pretty much gambled. They felt like they were the better team because I mean they are clearly the better team. Hold on,
Yeah,
pause it. But if you're just looking at the alignment, he's
pretty
manned up,
square.
running back. Petrie's coming, or no, Petrie's got. Does Petrie have Henry here? Yeah, he does. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're in man. I mean, it's a man blitz pretty much. So,
My
um,
problem with how Murray just guards it in general is he can shade this area, and you can kind of, or well, not shade the area, but like he can guard all of this. So just maybe stay underneath him a little bit, stay on him,
yeah.
don't get beat one way or the other, but trust your overhang to if you get beat vertical, so you can kind of trail that guy or go underneath, little things like that. Trust your guys too. Don't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna go one on one, square up with him, and I'm gonna go which way he goes." No, he's faster than you. He's more athletic than you. He's gonna be able to go whichever way he wants to go, and he will separate. That's the problem there.
And I don't think you're going to see because, like I talked about, I think Jaden Reed's been a talking point. But again, I don't think you're going to see a lot of this type of defense from the Texans this upcoming week because they're not stupid. They know the situation. They know that um, you play cover one man across the board, and the Packers have good enough receivers and a good enough quarterback to go beat you with it. So it's just it's a different game plan. It's a different week,
What
and you
you
game
might
plan
see
differently.
is stuff like this drop into a zone.
Yeah. Yep.
He'll come, they'll run a stunt, two, he'll blitz, he'll drop, and you'll have a lot of that. He could go in the flat, or there's no one over there, so he can kind of wall off the middle, too, and you're going to get a blitz. You could also have him drop or him blitz. And then Jordan Love, who hasn't been good against blitz, we could do zone blitz, we could do match coverage off of that, and we'll make it a leverage thing instead of a you need to go cover Jaden Reed kind of thing. Hopefully, that's what we see a lot more of. I would say that's more of what they did against the Bears. I saw a lot more zone blitzing against the Bears and a lot of cover one, 5-man pressures against the Patriots, which I don't blame them for doing. That makes sense. But then you see like touchdown come off of plays like that too. So it's hit or miss. I think the game plan will be interesting to see. You could also potentially just drop back and then see how Jordan Love does at first and then dial up the pressure too.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends because, like I said, he's not just been bad against the blitz; he's been bad against pressure in general. So it could also be a situation where you trust your guys up front to win, and you'll see how that goes. Um, so it'll be interesting for sure to see how play it because it'll depending on the team that you are playing, you treat them differently. There was not a lot of respect for the Patriots offense in that game plan, which there shouldn't have been. You were more talented. Make them make plays. It was kind of the idea. Don't let which has been my whole issue with when they play bad teams for the longest time. You got to make these guys make plays, and they're going to make some plays, but you also are going to force mistakes when you do that. You got the two turnovers. Um, was there another turnover? Yeah, the strip sack. There was three turnovers that you forced because you just straight up played. Or I think there was a fourth one for some reason.
Turn the
Maybe
game
I'm
off
wrong.
at the
Okay,
end. So.
I think there was four turnovers because I think we won the turnover battle by three. I don't remember exactly how many, but you at least forced three turnovers, which I mean that legitimately kind of won you the game. You were able to put up 41. We talk about how the Texans offense hasn't been putting up as many points as you would hope. They just did it because a lot of times they had good field positioning because they forced turnovers on defense. Um, and like I said, you're not necessarily going to play Green Bay like this, but when you play a bad team like New England or who do you play? What's some other bad teams you play? Maybe Miami. We'll see how that situation goes. But you play these teams that aren't very good, and you're clearly better than you can challenge these guys and go make plays.
Yeah, for me, I will say I kind of want this to be an in-game adjustment game. um from the Texans versus the Packers. Maybe
Yeah,
not
I agree.
offensively, but at least offensively, like I'm okay if it's like a let's see how the Packers handle this. Let's also see how they handle this. And because Jordan Love he's very talented. D'Amico Ryans said, of course, for whatever reason, that Jordan Love is the best quarterback Texans faced this year, even though they
That's
faced
a lie. But
Josh Allen. But no, Josh Allen was 9 for 30 in that
yeah,
game.
yeah.
So maybe D'Amico is on to something that we don't know. But no, I mean, look, he was respecting Jordan Love too. But let's kind of that's intriguing. I'm excited to see how he wants to defend the best quarterback that he's faced all year because that'll be pretty telling.
Yep,
But no,
it will
I
be.
really don't mind if Jordan Love dices us up on one drive, but it's about I guess really one thing we haven't seen out of the Vikings game is a team consistently do something against the Texans. Is that fair to
No,
say?
no,
Yeah.
teams have not really strung stuff together over a long stretch. I mean, Buffalo had back-to-back good drives
But
in
they
that
weren't doing
game.
anything special on that drive. Like they weren't
No,
dominantly
no.
running the ball. They weren't
Yeah,
dominantly
I
throwing
mean,
the ball.
the first drive there, they had the big chunk run, and then that was a good drive. The second drive was legitimately the Texans defense played it pretty well. 4th and 5, you let them, you gave up a big play because Lassiter misses a tackle, right? And it sucks, but not like I mean, Keon Coleman ran a stop route pretty well. It wasn't like they did anything special, right? And you know, I like Kamari. I think Kamari's been pretty good for a
Bad
rookie
play.
corner,
Bad play.
but it's a bad play. It's a
Happens.
bad play.
Yep.
And I thought he played pretty well in that game outside of that, but that's a brutal play. You got to make the tackle at least. It's a tough route to defend in that situation, but you got to at least make the tackle. But 5 games into the career, I think people are overreacting to how he's playing. I think you got to give. I think there's a certain amount of leeway, especially on defense when the defense is playing well, because you look at guys like Jalen Petrie and guys like Lassiter and Bullock. They're playing like their first 5, 6 games at their position. I know Petrie's been in the league for 3 years now, but also has never played nickel up until now. So it's a
Yeah.
transition point. And so you got to give them a little bit of time. And I think a lot of Lassiter's issues have been kind of just the IQ part of coverage, of like zone coverage, of not recognizing like 3rd and 10. You got to know the situation there. You can't give up a 12-yard out route. It's stuff like that, you know, it's certain leverage things. And maybe while he's injured, he actually kind of figures that type of stuff out. You watch the film, you watch the tape of, D'Angelo Ross, who's not special, but fundamentally pretty sound. Um, Stuff like that. So it'll be an interesting to see how he comes back. And overall, I
Definitely.
feel like the secondary has been better than people are acting like for sure. 100% they have.
He's either acting like he needs to be revamped outside Derek Stingley. That's
Yeah.
crazy times there on
Yeah.
Texans Twitter. So I'm sure next week is going to be even crazier unless we dominate the Packers, then they can finally shut up and live with the team that the Texans have. Because guess what? You're gonna have to deal with this team through the trade deadline. Because I highly, highly
Yeah. I
doubt
don't think they're going to do
the
anything
Texans will
either.
do anything. As many jokes as Nick Casario wants to make on sports radio, 610, whatever, with the boys, uh, you know, I don't
If
think anything's gonna
anything,
happen.
if anything, they should make a move for a guard, but they're not going to do that. If
Yeah,
anything, that's what they
they're not
should
gonna do
do, but
that.
they're
So
not going to do that.
the
Like I
one
said,
thing they should
Grant Delpit
do
would be cool. I like Delpit. I think he's a good player, but I don't know how much better he is than what they have at safety right now. And I think Bullock's been pretty good. And you invested a lot, in some of these guys like Kamari Lassiter, top 45 pick that you're starting, and it's not that he's looked great, but hasn't looked like a liability completely outside of the Jacksonville game, really, where he was pretty bad against Thomas. But it's early in his career, and I think he's shown a lot of good things. So it's way too early to be like, let's go trade for Denzel Ward or Patrick Surtain. Like, what the hell? That's not a possibility. Um, I,
For real, like if we did that, does that means we just wasted a second round pick, and you're gonna trade two first round picks after wasting a second round pick? Like that's kind of crazy. But
um,
oh my
yeah, I
God.
mean, I don't know where the whole Patrick Surtain thing came from because he just got extended. Denver's 3-3. I have no idea where that idea came from that was a possibility. But people can dream, I guess. Um, yeah, honestly, people are talking about all these guys from Cleveland. I would like David Njoku if that's a possibility, but not gonna happen, of
Too much
course.
money spent on Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, which unfortunately is the case because I wish you could that just didn't happen. You could
And
have gotten Njoku,
look,
but it's just not a possibility.
Brevin Jordan looked so good in
Oh
his
man,
first couple games of the
that's a
year. I
killer.
was like, he should be the starting tight end this year. No, let's go pay $12 million for Dalton Schultz. And then Brevin Jordan looked good. I was like, oh my God. Nightmare scenario, but then he gets hurt. And now we kind of need Dalton Schultz. And
Yeah.
look,
I mean, yeah.
the Texans will be fine under that
Oh yeah.
contract. It's
Absolutely.
fine. Um, and they can again, it's like a 3 year deal, and that's a good timeline, I'd say too. I like Texans roster how it is. I think that's really the story point.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Because outside of offensive line, which is a tough position to mess around with during the middle of the season, can't do anything else. I'd rather have guys that are already in the building. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
Unless they are a superstar. But then at the same point, you don't need a superstar corner or safety, especially in this defense. You definitely don't need to spend more money on a superstar corner or superstar safety. I mean, you already have Derek Stingley.
Absolutely. Nope. Secondary's played well. So there's no real reason to go out and make any like rash decisions. I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense when you don't have to. I mean, and the Texans should
Huh?
not invest picks into guys that are older players. I mean, like I said, if a younger guy becomes available that could match your timeline, then sure. But I like if
Yes.
the Texans were to give up a day two pick for Buda Baker, I'd be pretty upset. I think it'd be a
No.
You're right. So I'm just throwing it out there that I've seen people say like go trade a third for Buda Baker. I'd be pretty upset if that they did that because you're trading for bad contract, older safety, and you're giving up a day two pick when it's just stuff like that people want. People want results now, and I think people act like a roster has to be perfect to be a contender, which is just not the case. At any level, it's not the case. I mean, guys, the Chiefs are starting Juju Smith-Schuster. That roster is very far from perfect. I promise you, it's very far from perfect. I mean, but they've got superstar players. They've got Mahomes. They've got Chris Jones. They've got I don't know if Travis Kelce's really a superstar anymore, but very good player, very good tight end, very good coach. That's what it comes down to at the end of the day. You got to have these top level talent, and then you got to have guys that are cheap guys that can start and play roles for you, which
Mhm.
is what the Texans have. So. Um,
Yeah.
the only real difference between those two teams is just that the Chiefs' offensive line is much better, which is disappointing because, like I said, there's not a lot you can do about offensive line midseason.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of one of those things where you have to
Yeah.
relook at it in the offseason. But you can win with the offensive line the Texans have. I truly do believe that still. It's just not great.
I'm not really
No.
sure what to expect, but Joe Mixon has looked good. Dameon Pierce, we saw some good moments, and a lot of it was some nice play design too. I feel a little bit better about Bobby Slowick
Yeah.
after some disgusting scripts, I guess is probably the best way to put it. I liked
Yeah.
the way
This
the
was
run
a
game looked from a design standpoint. Pass game is always going to be fine, regardless of the play caller, even. So yeah,
I thought
everything's good.
I thought as a whole the offensive play calling was good. Um the only real drive that I thought was a little bit weird was I think it was right before half and they went run screen, which I know people hate
Okay,
and I
yeah,
was not a big fan of it.
that was the worst series, but like
Yeah, that
it's
was a
just
terrible series, but every other series was fine. Um, you move the ball and Stroud through an interception. You move the ball, Fairbairn misses a field goal. Not Slowick's fault. Nothing he could do about that. It just what happened. So, it sucks, but overall the play calling was good, I thought.
right. So one player to one player that's going to be the key on offense and one player that's going to be the key on defense. It's the Packers. Offensively, I'll just go Joe Mixon. I think that if you can run the ball, they should have no problems being the Packers because it just makes things flow. The games with Joe Mixon have been so easy flowing. The Colts game looked good. The first half of the Bears game looked really good. The Patriots game was just so refreshing to watch. I think if that works, we're gonna be just fine.
Yep. Offensively, let's see. I'm debating being weird with my pick because I feel like that's just a
I
thing
want to
that I'm
hear it. I
always
want to hear it.
weird. I was going to say, in a weird way, I think Kendrick Green has a big impact on the game because of the fullback looks. I think he actually will because I think they're going to start taking shots from that type of formation, which could be really fun. But I also think the tight ends are a big impact. I think the line of scrimmage you got to win it, and so Dalton
Yeah,
Schultz
it's a good, yeah. Win the
is
line
it.
of scrimmage.
Yeah. And so that's why I think Kendrick's a good name, even though he's not really going to be the key on offense. I think that type of play style is going to be interesting because
Yeah,
I
I
think
hope we
they,
see him like maybe hopefully five, at least five,
yeah,
maybe 10
because
times
I
in a
think
game.
they ran it every time he was in against New England, and you know that Green Bay is going to watch that film, so it's a perfect
So,
opportunity
yeah,
to
yeah,
hit a play fake and try to hit a deep ball on that. And then
yeah.
defensively, let's see. Hey, we'll go with the new guy. Let's go Denico Autry.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm
Big,
so
yeah,
excited.
I think he's going to be a huge impact player for this team. Without Edwards now too, do need him. Um, and I think he plays a lot, especially on third downs to start. I don't know if he necessarily is going to be a starter right now because I think they're going to kind of work him back a little bit. But I think he's going to get in there third downs, be a pass rusher, um, and he's going to be a key to the game for sure.
Very weird and saying like Kurt Hinish or anything like that. I mean,
I
Danico
forgot he's
Autry is
back.
going to
Yeah,
be very, very fun to watch. So in that case, I would say Will Anderson because the pass
okay,
rush can look a
yep,
lot different because Will Anderson can be utilized to control the line of scrimmage and let Daniel Hunter rush. Like we saw we went over a clip where the one side was setting up a sack for Will Anderson to be able to pass rush. Now imagine like Anderson's on that right side or around the right side, and then you see Hunter on the left side next to Autry. Maybe that side gets pass rushed while Anderson controls the line of scrimmage. We've also seen Anderson do a really good job against the run. So I think he just
yep.
plays such a huge part in this team. And also, hey, he's got 5.5 sacks. I want to see if he gets another sack because right now he's tied for third. And it's cool to see. And I think he's so much better than people give him credit for.
Yeah. He's a name now without Aiden Hutchinson being healthy that could actually contend for Defensive Player of the Year with his numbers and run stops and other things that go into it for sure. I'm of the stance that I think Fred Warner should win it, but he's never going to win it because linebacker is not a cool position, unfortunately. I think he should win it legit every year because I think he's the best defensive player in the NFL, but they're never going to give it to him. So that's unfortunate. But he's definitely a contender for it for sure now. And he's putting up numbers. He kind of stat padded against New England, but I got no problem with the stat
Hey,
padding, man.
he
Go get your
hasn't played the
sacks.
Tennessee Titans yet. He
Yeah,
hasn't played the
yeah, yeah,
Titans yet.
exactly. Exactly.
So
Titans
beware.
coming up. You got two games against the
Multi-stat game
Titans.
is coming. Guarantee it.
Jets,
Lock it in.
Jets, Jets game.
Jets too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stats are
Trying to
gonna
think
look
of who
so
else.
good. Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be great.
You get the let's see who whatever Miami offensive line, not a great offensive line either. You get some games coming up here where you get
Game. It's good. There's no contain rushes happening that week. They're just
no,
rushing.
just
They're
go get them.
attacking. Go. Go.
Yep, no, for sure. And he's gonna get his sacks. I mean, looks like you're at least gonna he had 7 last year, I think. You'll probably get at least 10, 11 this year. So you're gonna take a
Yep.
little bit of a step forward. Awesome to see for sure. All right, anything else you want to add?
That's it.
All right, sounds good. This is a fun episode. We kind of got rambling about trade
Yep.
targets and other stuff. I'm sure once the
Yeah.
deadline comes up, we'll start talking about that a little bit more. Even though I don't think the Texans are going to
We
do
don't need to.
anything.
There's nothing gonna
Yeah,
happen.
I agree. They're not going to do anything. We talked about this on Twitter yesterday. People did not like the fact that we said they weren't going to do anything, but they're not going to do anything. If they do anything, it's going to be a little move. It's going to be like a depth corner, a fourth corner. It's going to be something like very minute. But I don't think the Texans do anything. I think they're happy with their roster and they're playing well. So why would you?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no reason to really do anything. All right. Well, thank you all for watching, and we will see y'all next time.